This is Rummy's Corner. So rumor has it that we may get a huge heavyweight showdown between reigning WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder and the man who still holds a legitimate claim to the lineal heavyweight championship, Tyson Fury. This is very interesting news indeed, and I for one welcome the idea of this fight happening. Right now, we have unified WBA, IBF, WBO champion Anthony Joshua preparing for a title defense against Alexander Povetkin. This is the same Povetkin who, despite beating some very solid contenders in his career, he was thoroughly dominated by Vladimir Klitschko the only time he faced an elite heavyweight. And Povetkin is getting up there in age, where his best fighting days are clearly behind him. So most observers are expecting Joshua to beat Povetkin, with a few vocal dissenters mixed in. But a fight between Fury and Wilder definitely shakes things up, and it's also a far more interesting matchup. A lot of people, myself included, we were all really hoping for a showdown between Joshua and Wilder. But the two of them started jerking fans around with their long drawn-out failed negotiations that were all very public. So in that sense, it would almost be poetic justice if Wilder and Joshua both got knocked out in their next fights. But if Wilder versus Fury becomes a reality, that's just as good in my opinion. Perhaps even better. Anthony Joshua is the big draw in the heavyweight division at this moment, and most observers consider him to be the best of the class. But Tyson Fury was the one who defeated long-reigning champion Vladimir Klitschko, and Fury dominated Klitschko in a way we had never previously seen. Vladimir was always known as a methodical technician who was a master of his craft. But against Tyson Fury, Vlad never knew what to make of Fury's elusive style, and therefore Vlad became more reluctant to throw punches than we'd ever seen before. Vlad was never in the fight with Fury. In stark contrast, Joshua was pushed to his very limits against an older version of Klitschko. That one was a back and forth war where Joshua overcame adversity and stopped Vladimir. But it was a very even fight up until the time of the stoppage. So by rights, Fury is the man who beat the man. But the reason Joshua is widely viewed as the best right now is because of Fury's long stretch of inactivity, during which time he gained more than his fair share of pounds. Because of that, Joshua was kind of elevated to the top spot almost by default. But make no mistake, Fury's claim to the lineage is legit. Back in March, Deontay Wilder successfully defended his WBC title against the very tough undefeated challenger Luis Ortiz. That one wound up being a back and forth battle with several shifts in momentum, where Wilder had to overcome adversity en route to an impressive 10th round stoppage victory. This was Wilder's most impressive victory to date, and he exhibited tremendous heart, a much better than advertised chin, great recuperative powers, and explosive raw punching power. After beating Vladimir Klitschko, Fury was inactive for more than 2.5 years. He finally made his return to the ring in June against Sefer Seferi. Fury had lost a great deal of weight before this fight, but even still, he was much heavier than he was when he outclassed Vladimir. And the bout against Seferi didn't really prove a whole lot. Fury spent a lot of time posturing to the crowd like an 80s wrestling heel. And Seferi was too small, and he was no match for Fury. So Fury scored an early stoppage victory. The fight didn't prove a whole lot, but it was important for Fury to get back in action. And he did that, and now he has a little momentum going. And before a fight between Fury and Wilder becomes a reality, Fury has to get by Francesco Pianetta later this month, a guy who was stopped by Vladimir back in 2013. A matchup between Wilder and Fury actually makes a lot of sense for both guys right now. For Wilder, he would be catching Fury as he's trying to get back into shape and work his way back into form. Wilder has incredible power, and fighting Fury sooner than later probably works in his favor. On the flip side, Wilder looked extremely vulnerable at times in his bout against Ortiz, and Wilder was being outboxed for long stretches in the contest. Fury is a master boxer who's very difficult to hit flush, so if he could find ways to avoid Wilder's power, Fury can make a huge statement here. Then there's the financial aspect in all of this. While Joshua's team is probably itching to see the purse totals here in hopes that it reaffirms AJ's status as the top drawing heavyweight, who right now he's head and shoulders above the rest. If the totals are low for Fury and Wilder, this can help further solidify Joshua's A-side standing in a would-be matchup against the winner. There is, however, the chance that Wilder vs. Fury could wind up being a huge pay-per-view success. And if that happens, it strengthens the case of whoever wins between Wilder and Fury when the victor ultimately looks in Joshua's direction. Plus, there's a prestige element that could be gained here. Wilder vs. Fury would almost certainly steal most of the thunder from the uninspiring matchup that's coming up between Joshua and Povetkin. And beyond that, a victory for Fury would give him the leverage of the WBC crown, and a victory for Wilder would provide him with the leverage of becoming the legitimate lineal heavyweight champion. So who will win if a showdown between Fury and Wilder becomes a reality sooner rather than later? Both guys have tremendous determination and a lot of self-belief. Wilder has the advantage in power, momentum, and most importantly, I think, unpredictability. In some ways, I'd actually be more confident if Fury was facing Joshua, because AJ is kind of stiff and mechanical and predictable, sort of like Vladimir was. If Wilder is nothing else, he's not predictable. He's far less skilled than Joshua or Vladimir, but Wilder's unorthodox approach is something that might lull the elusive Fury into a false sense of security. Then there's the fact that Wilder has always been in tremendous shape, whereas Fury is in the process of shedding off a lot of excess weight. But at the end of the day, Tyson Fury is far more skilled and talented than Deontay Wilder. So if Fury is close to the form he was against Klitschko, I expect Fury to win. But that's the multi-million-dollar question. If Fury does face Wilder sooner rather than later, how close to form will he actually be? That's what makes this such a fascinating matchup, and I really do hope we get to see it sooner rather than later. Thank you for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great night.